So this is Right Ben, aka Benny. And Benny is a client's horse that I was asked to take the ride on just to get him around his first novice to make sure he had a nice, confident go. He'd been competing at the beginner novice level. And so my goal here is to make sure I have a very nice, solid test, keeping him in between both leg and hand, making sure that he is pushing from the hind end and that he stays up and through the connection. He can sometimes tend to get a little crooked through the contact. But Benny is a very good boy. He's very workmanlike. So he is quite a pleasure to ride. He's very willing and very willing to try. So now I'm going into my serpentine. Changing the bend. Making sure I have him on my inside leg now, connection with the outside rein. Going to the right, he can sometimes get a little stuck and you might see his head wag some, but that has been a big improvement that we've been working on with his rider. And I found with him really getting him to step through and forward, as with most horses, getting him to come up to my hand and not. You don't ever want to ride the other way around. You don't want to have a heavier hand and no leg. You want to ride your horse up into the hand. Same as into the down transition. Benny has a lovely walk. It's very active. You can see both haunches and shoulders swing. And he's nice and quiet. He can have a little bit more stretch down and out with the nose, but he's overstepping nicely. Now I'm asking him to connect. A little bit of a right drift right there. That was a pretty good transition. Now working on the half 20-meter circle, preparing him for canter. It was decent enough. His transitions as well have been a little bit of a weak spot into the canter, but I was pretty happy with that reaction. Now I want to make sure I get him straight. Kind of drifts the haunches just a little bit on me. And then you get a little bit of the crossing of the jaw. And that is just him, that strength of coming through and straight up the top line. That is something else for us to work on. Now crossing the diagonal. And getting him to bend through the corner. As the test went, I felt him getting more supple as we went along. So now we're preparing for the half 20-meter for the canter. Making sure I have his trot up about another ounce so then we can. There's that right lead a little bit where he evaded, but then he came right back down. Getting him to work on that suppling of the rib cage. And now I'm going to prepare him for turning down the center line. So overall, I was really happy with his test. He scored a 26.2. And I was really happy with Benny, especially with this being our second real ride, actually. So, such a good boy. So now here is Benny heading out to cross country. So this was the first time I had jumped him, was in the warm-up. But again, I had been teaching his rider on him, so I knew about him. My goal here is to keep him really confident. He jumped the first fence pretty well. Coming up to the second fence. And as I get closer to the jump, my shoulders are going to go further away from it. That was pretty good. So anytime riding these young horses, wanting to make sure I stay nice and positive, and as neutral as I can. Now we're heading to the 2-stride. I want to make sure my hands are nice and wide. You can see he got a little wiggly, but not too bad. And it can be a little daunting sometimes when you do a catch ride on a horse that you necessarily don't know. So he's very much a different ride from Gamble, aka Play Big. But that's just about adjusting and being a sympathetic rider as well. And he jumped that table quite nicely. And we weren't really able to see the water, but he was a very brave boy through the water. Coming to that table. And I'm just working on him having that nice canter with my shoulders up. He kind of takes a peek at this little A-frame coupe. And I went to add, and he kind of just 3-legged jumped it just because he was a little worried, but, you know, that's all right. So now preparing him for the ditch. Hands are wide, shoulders are back. He kind of squirts over it, but I was able to stay a little in the back seat, keeping my hands wide so he kept his eye on the next jump. Now heading to the split rail oxer, jumps that really nicely. And then crossing over into the other field. Again, with these novice horses, we're not really galloping. It's a nice canter pretty much. So I wanted to get his attention right here just to get him to soften a little bit onto the bit. And that one we were able to jump right out of stride, preparing him for this bank up and bank down. And he takes a little hesitation here, but I just stay back and stay positive, and he jumps it for me. I was very happy with how he felt around the whole course. Really stayed nice and quiet and relaxed. And now we're heading to the last fence. And he jumps this really good. Had a really great round. Really happy with him.
Right, Ben and Elisa Wallace finish. So just got this one combination out there, Laura Bolajak and a friend of Bill W.
Now moving on to show jump. And again, kind of the things for Benny that we've worked on in the flat work, the suppleness and straightness is all the things that carry forward into our jumping. So working on establishing a nice rhythm, making sure I have him in between my hand and leg coming to the first fence. He jumps that lovely. And we're able to get the lead change. Trying to make sure I keep his shape through the turn. He bulges just a little bit on me there. That's again where I could have had him in between my leg to hand a little better. But I'm able to fix it right here. He jumps that nice. Make sure I keep my right leg, right rein, so I have that turn. And again, I'm going to use the corners to kind of keep the shape for him. Trying to make sure I keep him nice and soft. And he's doing a really good job because my distances are a little bit of the long spot, a little bit of the close spot. Like this was a little close, and he really pinged up over that. Keeping my outside rein, outside leg, and I'm able to get this turn quite nicely. Jumps that great. This was a very fun round to ride. It was very nice and flowing. Now we come to the 2-stride, and he jumped this fabulous. So really proud of him. Had a great weekend, and he ended up finishing 4th.